Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to crumble!
I'm Joshua Kemble, and welcome to Joshua Kemble's Livestream. I've been a freelance illustrator and graphic designer for over 20 years. I was an art director for 9 years. And when I'm not art directing and working on illustrations and graphic designs, I'm working on comic books and graphic novels, and that's usually what I do during my streams. And while conversations can go all over the place on this stream, from spicy and entertaining to goofy and silly, one thing stays consistent throughout every stream. I'll always be working on art. So pull up a chair, get your art supplies out, and get ready for an entertaining show that'll keep you company while you work on your own personal art projects. This is Joshua Kemble's Art Stream. All right, welcome to my live stream. I am Joshua Kemble, and we're going to finish coloring page 104 of Not Death But Love, The Strange Supernatural Story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning. And then I'm going to apply for something that I have to apply for tonight, but not do that on stream. And also, we're going to show the last of the guitars. We've had a long journey going through all of my different guitars. Harry Hodges says, Mr. Kemble, Mr. Hodges, I'm halfway through your stream watching that. And so I plan on watching that tonight, possibly having that stream on while I'm doing my exercise, because I have to do exercise tonight, which is not going to be fun, but I will do it. So anyhow, I'm warning you. If you're watching this and you're like, whatever you do, sir, don't exercise. I might just do that. I might even watch Gary Hodges' live stream while exercising. Exciting times, guys. Exciting times. Speaking of exciting times, we're going to show the last guitar. So I've been doing this little segment during 15 of my last streams. And we've run through all my different guitars. Squire 2 Stratocaster, I guess that's a vintage guitar now. My Squire Telly, my Jasmine acoustic, which was made by Takamine. My Seagull S6 solid top acoustic Dreadnought. My modded Telecaster Squire. My Sterling bass Stingray bass guitar. My Fender Telecaster, my Luna Soprano ukulele, my Gibson SG Standard, the Les Paul 59 remake, inspired by Gibson, the inspired by Gibson Hummingbird, the Epiphone Hummingbird. That's my all solid top, or all solid wood, not just top, but like the whole thing's solid wood. Dreadnought guitar. I showed you guys my Yamaha G75. That's like my little parlor acoustic guitar that I spiced up and refretted. My Erin banjo, which is a terrible guitar that I absolutely love, and 6-string banjo. And then we looked at earlier today. We actually looked at my my John Guitarras de Calidad from Mexico, Parecio, Mexico, and it's my classical guitar that I had to pretty much rework the majority of. I had to, I resanded and radiused the neck. I actually drilled holes in the neck to input fret marker dots and replaced the nut, and sanded and replaced the saddle. Had to clean the crap out of it, put new tuners on it and stuff like that. I showed that to you guys earlier today. So the last but not least is going to be a very interesting guitar that has opened my mind to the possibility of other potential guitars in the future. And that is this brand called Firefly. So I have for years followed guitar channels, stuff like that. Dylan said, "Hi, Joshua." Hi, Dylan. How's it going? We're gonna be coloring comics soon, but this will be at least the last of the introducing new guitars on my list. For now, until I get another guitar. Um, and so basically, I've followed guitar reviewers and stuff online for a long time, just because I like guitars. I like buying guitars. I like modding guitars. And so you subscribe to these like channels that are primarily about that, to learn more about it, watch guitar reviews, all that kind of fun stuff. Um, Pepsi Cola said, "Hi, Al Joshua. You own a guitar orchestra, to me at least." Yes, yes, I do. Now, keep in mind, a lot of these are like cheap guitars, or guitars that I got used and made into playable, passable guitars. But yes, I'm very lucky to have as many guitars as I do, and I love them. I love them all. I was actually recording today, and that was a lot of fun. Most of that so far has been done on the Hummingbird, but I'm looking for a place to put in this last guitar, and maybe next weekend on this same track, because it's our 10th song that we're recording for our next album, and I think there might be based on my 338 on there. So we'll see. We'll see what where the music leads. But I'm going to show you guys my 38. But before that, I just want to kind of intro it in the sense that on all of these guitar channels, there was this brand that was popping up. That's a Chinese brand of guitars called Firefly. And they initially got really popular because they like pop up on Amazon. They're 335 semi-hollow style guitars that were like under $200, which is kind of insane because a semi-hollow for $200, even Epiphone, the like base model of Epiphone, is not even going to come close to that price. It's just too low for that style of guitar. But these Fireflies started popping up on Amazon. They're just a brand called Firefly, and they just were so good and such like high quality craftsmanship and stuff that people they'd just sell out instantly. People were, "What is this?" And then of course it became kind of a thing in the guitar community on YouTube. And so I've been watching for 5 or 6 years, reviews of these guitars made by Firefly. And then I'm looking on their website, and a lot of the criticisms of early Firefly guitars seem to have been addressed by the company. So initially it was that they had cheap tuners. And so the next thing you know, they have like really nice tuners. And they didn't have locking tuners. So the next thing you know, they make the next iteration, the next generation of these guitars with locking tuners. They didn't have a bone nut. Well, now they make them with bone nuts. Well, their fret ends were like really kind of sharp. Well, then they start making ball end frets. And it's like everything that people are complaining about with these guitars just seems to be addressed by the company. And so I'm doing research about it. I've been curious about it for years because they just, I've gone on their site. They have a website called guitarsguard.com because they're kind of hard to find on Amazon, but they have their own kind of hub, at least if you're in California, called guitarsgarden.com. And I looked on there and I was just like, man, they have so many cool instruments. And I don't yet have a 335. So I just had that on back burner for years. And then my good friend Jim Lujan, back when I got like my 59 Les Paul, was like, "Hey, I got a new guitar too," and he showed me, and I was like, "Oh crap, it's a Firefly 338," and he's like, "This thing's amazing, right? And it has no business being this amazing for the price." And so finally, that talking to Jim about it, asking him questions about his, finally got me over the hoop, or like the hurdle of like, just being like, I don't know, all of this could be hype. It could just be people who are paid on YouTube to review these things, and maybe they aren't that great stuff. So I order a 338, and just with full expectation, this thing is gonna suck. Like maybe it's just really pretty looking, and I get it, and it needs like crazy amounts of work and a setup, and like the tuners, they look good, but like everything about it just, it's still kind of a gamble. And then I get this thing in the mail, and it's like a really good guitar. Like it really shouldn't be under $200. I don't understand how they're making guitars this good. And it's so good, in fact, that if around my birthday, if I have the budgets to get a guitar for my birthday, I might be looking into getting a Strat by the same company, because it's a beautiful guitar. It's a really good guitar. Now, I'll say one criticism: the pickups aren't the best. They aren't the worst. They aren't like the best pickup, but it plays so good. I can't believe it. So let me show you guys this 335. I'll play a little riff thing on it. It's what they call 338, but it's basically just a mimic of a Gibson 335. And when you see all the appointments on this guitar, you're just, like, if you're a guitar guy or a nerd for guitars, you're going to be like, how is that possible at that price? It just doesn't make sense. So they had a couple options on their site. I opted for this matte. I don't know if this one's still available on their site, but I opted for this matte finished, sunburst. Seemed kind of classic. And yeah, again, it's got, locking tuners. So let me show you. There's the locking tuners. It has not too bad logo. And the neat thing about the logo is it's got pearl inlays on its logo. And then pearl inlays on the neck, rosewood neck, rolling saddles, brass rolling saddles. I have no idea how they get away with that. Full pots, like these are not like mini pots. And just really exquisite binding. And then the thing that's annoying and great about this is these beautiful ball frets. So these are stainless steel ball end frets that are just flush and beautiful on and usually on cheap guitars, at minimum, you're going to have just terrible fretwork. And here's the thing: this comes out of the box. It's a Chinese Mach 335, and it comes out of the box set up as good Gibson. And I own a Gibson, so I know it's like it's as good of a setup on just and by setup I mean like action, the playability of it. It's as good as a Gibson, like on just the playing feeling and the setup and the intonation and stuff like that. It is easily as good as a Gibson. Now, pickups are nowhere near Gibson level, but they're also passable and great. And the nice thing is, the whole reason I was getting this is to get another tone and sound into my arsenal. So even though the pickups are like slightly microphonic, I actually don't mind it, because it adds kind of vintage vibe. Like back in the day, almost everybody's guitars had microphonic pickups. So if you're playing something like a 335, and you want it to have like that kind of classic vintage sound, this isn't a bad guitar to have. I will say it's just beautiful. The binding is beautiful on it. It's an incredible guitar. And I am stunned that Firefly is able to do this for, I think it's like $175 or something. I can't, again, I don't know how long they're going to be able to make these things, because it's incredible quality. Binding that even goes in the F holes. Like generally on these cheaper 335s, they won't even bind the interior, the F hole, but on this they did. So I still am just stunned that these exist, and I'm curious now about their Strats. So at some point, the next guitar I get will probably be a Firefly again, because I've had some good experience with the one. Maybe it's just luck. Maybe I just got like one good one and the rest are all crap or something, but they're incredible. This is an incredible guitar. And then Jim, my friend Jim, also testifies to his being a really good guitar. And I'm sure they don't need us to give hype to this brand, because again, they're kind of getting pretty known on the internet because they make good guitars. for just dirt cheap, which is unbelievable. So let's play this for a little bit just so you can hear some of the tones. Cool. Hopefully you can hear that. I'm gonna play just a little bit. Maybe I'll do a little loop or something, and then jam on it. And then after that, we're gonna work on comics. And this is just this is the middle position, the bridge and neck. Let's see if we can get something going here. I don't know if I like that. Okay, I kind of dig that. So let's see if we can get something. Jim was just saying, put that guitar back up on my wall. Did you get it in my house? I think Jim has the same one, except instead of the matte finish, I think it's a let's see here. I got to delete that loop. Jim's is actually the glossy version of this, but it's still pretty much the same guitar. It's an incredible guitar though. Okay. Let's see if we can get another loop going. I just have to delete. Okay, here we go. Let's see if that worked. Okay, let's do like a The only problem is I let the loop delay too much, so hold on. Okay, let's get another one going. Did that work? Darn it. I'm still learning this loop pedal. Hold on. Thought I had it. Okay, I'm not getting my looping pedal working, but I love this thing. It's got like a real beautiful tone to it. So that's all the pitch pickup. The neck pickup is a little hot, like maybe a little too hot. Like I don't know what I feel about the pickup, but it's a little warm. Anyhow, I love it. So that's it. We're going to put this guitar away now, but I will tell you guys, like, this is an incredible guitar. I am surprised at the thank you, Jim Lujan, for being the first test subject of my friends to try them out. I'm definitely going to be buying from Firefly again, just based on the goodness of this guitar. And it is, again, it's just a beautiful guitar. It's too much guitar for under $200, under $170. This thing is crazy. And again, locking tuners. The tuners are smoother than like most guitars I have, including my like really high end ones. Like it's like butter, like just turning that thing. I don't know how they're doing it, but as long as they are doing it, yeah, it's just as long as those are that affordable, there's just no way I'm going to be springing for another brand and buy a guitar by the same company and it's awful. But they won me over with that guitar. So now I'm curious about, they have Strat Tellys. They have kind of something that looks a little bit like a Les Paul Jr., which I'd be curious about. They have like mock Les Paul, which I'd be really curious about too. But just for the price, I don't see anybody out there beating it. And I have no idea how they get away with it. And I'm not sponsored by Firefly or anything like that. But I have to say, if you're a guitar nerd, you want a 335, you're either gonna, at minimum for an Epiphone, be spending $500-600. For like the actual Gibson of this, you'd be dropping $2,000 to $3,000 at minimum. Like a $2,000 for a 335 by Gibson would be a really good deal. So that just kind of shows you the price point that this is at. That's just unbelievable that they're able to do. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play a trailer and get resituated so that we can work on this. Because we're not here to play guitar. Guitar is a fun intro thing. We're here to rock and roll and do comics. So here is, let's play a trailer. Let me know your thoughts on Firefly. Obviously, Jim, you can share your thoughts in the chats if you want. But Jim, man, like he owns one too. And I don't know if your reaction, Jim, is similar to mine, but for me, it's my brain is blown by how good that guitar is, especially the neck feel. On a guitar, you can just tell when you play a neck that like there's dead notes or there's dead frets somewhere, or somewhere it's a little awkward. And this just doesn't have any business being this good for that cost. Because again, no dead notes. Neck is completely smooth. I can't wait to try out another of their types of guitars, because for 335, that's as much as I'd want from a 335. All right, so let's put the trailer for Wordzoid, and then we're gonna do some comic book coloring.
Well, Peter, since I'm such a big music fan, I'm gonna have to go with Karen Carpenter. Oh, Stu, I'm sorry, that's the incorrect answer. Trish, what you got for us?
I'm gonna go with Kim Gordon.
All right, let's check that answer. Kim Gordon. Do we have a Kim Gordon? Yes, and that means you're our new Wordzoid champion, Trish. Dale, tell Trish what she's won. Trish, you've won a copy of Two Stories, a memoir of faith and mental illness. Handwritten, hand-drawn, and handed to you by artist and writer Joshua Kemble. But wait, that's not all. You've also won a copy of Jacob's Apartment, the story of a doomed romance. What happens when you take Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and put it in a blender with Ghost World? You get Jacob's Apartment, written and illustrated by Joshua Kemble. Trish, thank you for playing Wordzoid.
All right, great job, Trish.
I was told I was gonna get a lifetime supply of paper towels.
I still absolutely love that ad by Jim Lujan, who animated it, who has the full fungus coming out. All right, so what we're going to do now is just finish up the colors for this page. And I'm just going to continue to probably gush about Firefly. So there are a couple things about it. It's not just that it like sounds pretty decent, but initially I got it thinking, I'll probably at some point like swap out the pickups and it'll be like a modding platform kind of thing. And right now maybe I'm weird, but it's like I just like it all around. I even like the pickups, and that's something I was not expecting. My best case scenario would be I'd like everything but the pickups, but right now I'm pretty happy with the pickups. But if I was going to change something on it, that would be all I would do is like get maybe like Seymour Duncan pickups or something like that to like swap out. But currently I'm pretty happy with those pickups, and they have like a warm vintagey vibe to them. And again, they're really hot and, loud, and that's kind of a perfect instrument for rock and roll. So, the one thing I will say with the 335, I still have to get used to. I don't know if Jim has this. It's going to take me a while just to get used to the body shape of it, because it does feel different than a Telecaster or a Strat. Like, it's a big guitar. It's not heavy. They're very light. In fact, it feels lighter than, a Les Paul or a Strat or a Tele, but it has such a different feeling that it feels a little bit alien when I'm playing it. Not too much, but it's, an adjustment I'm going to need to make to kind of get used to that big old guitar body. But it also feels pretty bad. You feel like, I don't know, the Beatles used to play 335s, BB King played a 335, and I will say Firefly has like a model that is like a replica of BB King's Lucille on Guitars Garden, and man, that thing is pretty. And it has that extra like 5-way switch thing. I don't even remember what that was called, what King called that, but it was like a extra amount of tone options that were on Lucille that weren't on other 335 that he had installed in it. And they've managed to kind of make something very similar, that style of 335 with the special, BB King knob on it. So if you guys are out there and you want to get a 335, I can't fully recommend it, because for all I know, maybe Jim and I just lucked out, but it seems to me like their quality control is really good, and that they are just only going to become a better and better guitar company, which makes me really excited because, as you can see, going through 15 different guitars that I own, talking about potentially wanting to own another, I have a thing for guitars. And so the idea of a company that's making them affordable and yet incredible, I'm all about that. Like, I like high quality instruments and stuff like that, but I also like high quality instruments that do not break your budget. And I guess we all do. I shouldn't say that like it's the most profound thing. I like quality, but I also like saving money. It's a strange thing about me. Can you imagine having that conversation with somebody where you're like, man, I really like quality things that cost less, and being in a room with somebody who's just like, not at all, sir. I like spending money uselessly on things, even though they could be cheaper. Anyway, yeah, I'm really impressed with Firefly. And the thing I'm also happy about is, to me, that's a win, because if that guitar is that good for that cheap, that means, like that Epiphone, the 59 Epiphone inspired by Gibson, prior to like Firefly and some Chinese competitors that started making better Les Paul, the option, the Epiphone model, which is like the Squire, it's like the sub brand of Gibson. It's owned by Gibson. It's like their overseas version of a made in America Gibson. They're not made in America, but they're like seal of approval by Gibson. Their Les Pauls weren't really good guitars. Like an Epiphone Les Paul was like, okay, it was probably the best Les Paul you were going to get for the budget, but they weren't really even close to in the ballpark of an actual Gibson. And what I like that's happening in the guitar industry now, at least seems to be happening, is because Chinese guitars have gotten so good, it's pushing companies like Epiphone to make things like that the 59, inspired by Les Paul, which is close to, if not better than, some entry level Gibson. And just to be able to bring that quality to like their bottom line tier is nice for the industry. It's nice for new guitarists to be able to get an affordable guitar that isn't just a terrible thing. Another example would be like the Squire Classic Vibes. They're incredible guitars, and Squire's just got better and better. To the point where a lot of people are arguing nowadays that like Squire might be making better guitars than some of the bottom line Fenders. And that kind of quality again started happening when you saw these kind of more affordable budget versions of Strats and Tellys and things like that coming out and starting to take some of that market share from those companies. So like, it's kind of good, in my opinion, to like, because if a 335 is this good for under $200 by a company that's not even Gibson or Epiphone, it I think pushes pressure or puts pressure in the right place on Epiphone and Gibson to really up their game and make even better guitars, because just to justify the cost. And the nice thing too is I like the fact that the appointments are so good. So like the having high-end locking tuners and like decent hardware and rolling brass saddles on the bridge, it's just like it makes I think it puts pressure on the companies to do a better job on the made in America stuff, which is great. So that's a win for everybody. Because again, if you're paying, $200 for this guitar and then you pay 6 or 7 for like Epiphone or a Squire, you're going to feel really ripped off if it's not at least equivalent, if not better than the competitor. And so to me, I see it as a real good thing for the whole industry that companies like Firefly are out there. Let's see here. But for me, just for a dude who's not really wealthy, like it's nice to have that as an option. Because I like buying old guitars, that I find at pawn shops and stuff, or at thrift stores or whatever, and fixing them up to be good guitars. But it's also nice to be able to buy a brand new guitar that's, an incredible piece of guitar. So anyhow, that was me rambling for a long time about why I love Firefly and why I think, at least from this one experience, maybe I get another guitar from them at some point and change my mind, because I'm like, man, this thing is just too much work to be worth it. But so far, that's not the case. Like, so far, it's like I got it, and I was like, these are not overhyped. In fact, I kind of can't believe these things exist. So, yeah. So anyway, thanks again to Mr. Lutz, Mr. Jimmy the Lujan, for that recommendation, because that guitar is incredible. All right, so right now what we're doing is just slamming through the flat colors here. I have a kind of interesting night ahead of me. I've got a couple things I need to do, but I think I'm on track to get all of those done. And again, it's about just kind of trying to get the whatever I can done when I can get it done. But I do have this theory. I've talked about it a lot on here of like, when you're doing personal projects, you just kind of make the time that you can. So in this case, I see a window till about 7:45, possibly 8, to kind of get this thing done. And after that, it's like I really need to be focusing on the other stuff that I need to do. I will say, I went to my buddy's house. We recorded we started song number 10, and it's sounding pretty good. We're about a verse in. We have like a verse of guitar, and it'll be fun next weekend to kind of see where that goes. If you're a person who plays music too, I recommend, trying something like that. If you know anybody near you that plays, you don't have to like start a band. You can just have like a recording day where you just kind of write music together. I'm finding it really fun. So my friend and I, from like 12 to about 2 or 2:30 every Sunday, we'll sit down and kind of make something. And our goal is just to kind of track and record and make songs, but like also be real casual about it, like, and very improvisational about it, where it's like, we're just kind of yes ending whatever ideas the other person has. It works really well. It ends up leading to some really cool songs I can't wait to share with you guys. Okay. Now we've got our thing here. Thing 1 and thing 2. I just need to deselect all of his skin tone here, and we'll kind of go from there. How are you guys doing, by the way? How is your Sunday going? Are you guys working on any projects? I know for a fact that that Mr. Hodges does appear to be making some headway on his project, which is pretty exciting. Paul said, "Hola, hola, Paul, hola." Hola, mi amigo. I was trying to sound as terrible with that pronunciation as possible. Dylan said, "Hello, Paul." Yeah, I'm kind of excited. I feel like we have a batch of new projects coming out in our little group of creatives. I also saw that am crazy. I don't know if Jim's still listening, but it looked like Ken Mora is in Italy. Friend of the show, Ken Mora, who's been a guest on Artcasters a bunch, was an original member of Clam with an M. But it looked like on Facebook he was posting photographs from Italy at a convention in Italy with an Italian publisher for his book, which I'm really stoked for. So Caravaggio, A Light in the Darkness, or A Light Before the Darkness, is being published in Italy, which is pretty exciting, and in Italian. So I'm kind of hoping that Ken just makes all those wild Italian connections, and then all of us can just move with Ken to Italy and say ta-ta to the United States. Does anyone say ta-ta anymore? I don't know if anyone ever said ta-ta. There's a lot of interesting languages being spoken in the chats. We're a very like educated group of people with a variety of languages that we all speak. All right. So let's see here. Just have to get this outfit. Pepsi Cola said, I'm pretty sure supervillains still use it. Oh, use ta-ta. Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, I could see supervillains using it, where they're like, ta-ta, Batman. Ta-ta, Mr. Bond. Yeah, that actually definitely works. I do feel like there's something great about writing a villain that has like really exquisite speaking. Like a villain who's just really well spoken. He's not like, he's a very educated, civilized man who also happens to be evil. You know? I think that's the way to do it. Paul said, I want to move to Venice and smoke cigarettes. I want to move to Venice. Okay, do you guys remember the guy in Venice? I'm sure I could look this up on YouTube. Oh, Maya was saying she always thinks of Indiana Jones like the Venice line. I think in Venice for years there was a guy, and if you guys remember this, let me know, but there's a guy who used to wear a Darth Vader helmet, and he would rollerblade around with like a shreddy electric guitar and a little miniature amplifier clipped to his belt, and he would just shred while playing just like these crazy like metal leads while rollerblading in Venice and wearing a Darth Vader helmet. And I think that the existence of that guy was pretty incredible. And I at some point should look that guy up. Yes, Venice Beach. Oh, I think Paul was talking about moving to Venice, Italy. I thought of smoking cigarettes and I was like instantly thinking of Venice Beach. That would make more sense, Paul, to be talking about Venice, Italy when I was mentioning Ken being in Italy and getting us a gig living in Italy. But I like the idea that maybe Paul gets back from the comic convention and he's like, dudes, I got a sweet hookup. We're all moving to Venice. And we're like, yeah, we're going to move to Venice, Italy. This is amazing. And then the next thing you know, we all move to Venice Beach. And the sweet gig is being like, I don't know, like medical marijuana brokers on on the strip or something. Always saying, yes, Italy, man. But do you guys remember the Venice Beach? Anybody who's a California local, I wonder if you guys remember the Venice Beach Darth Vader rollerblader shreddy guitarist guy. Rollerblading, shredding Darth Vader guitarist. And he did that for years. That's the thing. It's not like it was like a one-off thing. It's like he was like a staple. All right, guys. Look at that. We are halfway there now. Do you see that? That's how it's done. All right, we're going to play another trailer, and then we will get into... Pepsi Cola said, rollerblading Darth Vader. I missed that film. Sounds iconic, though. It wasn't a movie. It was a dude on Venice Beach. He would just shred his guitar whilst rollerblading. And here's the thing that's weird, too. He'd sometimes just wear, like, swim trunks. And then he'd have a big cape and a shreddy guitar and a Darth Vader helmet on. Yeah, he's amazing. Okay. Yeah, Pepsi Cola said someone had to make a movie of it. History must be captured. There has to have been. There's got to be footage of it on YouTube. If I weren't coloring right now, I would look it up and be like Darth Vader helmet guitarist on rollerblades. It's probably on YouTube. In fact, it's kind of shocking to me that I haven't checked to see if it was on YouTube. All right, guys, we're going to play another trailer. This one's going to be Frank Salazar's Adventures in the Library, and then we will come back with a vengeance and color.
Our heroic adventurers fought orcs, monsters, sorcerers, necromancers. Now they find themselves in front of a mystical library. What shall they find? It's all in the roll of the dice. We've come this far. There's great power behind this door. I can feel it. We just have to get past it. This door is no match for my axe. I shall chop it down. You always want to use brute strength. Why don't you try knocking? We'll try it your way. You may enter. The library is open to all those who seek knowledge. Feel free to look through our tomes. Maybe you'll find the answers you seek. I sense great power here, and it's behind those shelves. Indeed, there are powerful items hidden behind these shelves, but you can only get there through the enchanted words. Do you have those words? I believe I do.
Tremble before the Cremble.
There is great power. Look at that glove. Must be so powerful. That is not where I sense this power. I must get closer. I found them. I found these sacred manuscripts written by Joshua Kemble. Behold, I now possess 2 stories and Jacob's apartment. Please tell us more about 2 stories and Jacob's apartment, and who is Joshua Kemble? Xeric Award-winning cartoonist Joshua Kemble is a freelance artist, graphic designer, and author. 2 Stories is a confessional graphic memoir that grapples with questions of faith, mental illness, depravity, and ultimately redemption in a fallen world. Jacob's Apartment is a coming-of-age graphic novel in the vein of Ghost Road and Fun Home. It weaves together the threads of spiritual faith, identity, purpose, love, and loss to create an engrossing world in which waking and sleeping dreams collide. You have made your choice. The passage is now closed. Wait, can I get that glove? No. Oh. All right, let's go.
I love the no at the end of that. Thanks again, Frank, for submitting that. That was awesome. We have some interesting stuff in the chats that I want to get to. But the first thing I have to do is make sure that I finish this selection. Because if you try to click off the screen when you're doing selections in digital art, you end up like selecting everything or having just like a terrible scenario where you basically wasted a bunch of time doing your half of your selections and then the marching ants end up everywhere. much like Ad Picnic, and I don't really feel like dealing with that. So, okay, now I've got my selection. Now I can attend to the chats. So Paul said my brother and I were going to stay at Venice Beach when we visited California, but Jim told me it was sketchy. Jim was correct to tell you that. Yeah, Venice is not the best. that's how could I even, let's just put it this way. That's not necessarily like, if you want to visit California and you want to really feel what it's like at a beach in California, that's not one of them. Like it's not a bad area during daytime, kind of, but yeah, it's not a place I would book a hotel room. Yeah, Maya was just basically saying it's just like a lot of weird people. But I will say, if you're gonna stay, at a beach, do like Seal Beach, man. Like Seal Beach, HB. If I was gonna book though, like especially if it was like a oh my gosh, I'm blanking out on what those are called. The thing where you book and it's not a hotel. An Airbnb. That's it. If I was going to book like an Airbnb in near that vicinity, I would do more a Seal Beach Airbnb, because that's just a great place. Or Laguna, although I will tell you, Laguna goes the opposite direction, where, Seal is like, Seal kind of wealthy as an area, but it's still down to earth enough. But if you go to Laguna, it's like, now you're talking, well, you might feel uncomfortable in a different way than you would in Venice. Like Venice, you'd feel weird because it's a lot of strange people. It's a little sketchy. Laguna, you might feel weird because like everybody there are like people who actually drive like Ferraris, like casually. Like it's just really, really ritzy, really, really rich, really expensive food, and so on. So yeah, Paul was saying maybe I'd fit in if they're weird. Well, that's the thing about Venice. You would fit in with some, because it is a nice, crazy bunch of people in Venice. And then there's other crazy people in Venice that might maybe kill you or steal your stuff. That kind of weird. So there's like all kinds of weird in Venice. Good kinds of weird. And then real sketchy, might murder you on the street kind of weird. If you're from Venice and you're like, that does not represent Venice, then I apologize. I apologize. It might just be the main street on Venice. Maybe everything else in Venice is great, but the pier itself and like the surrounding shopping area, yeah, that's a little sketchy. It can be fun though. And there are like some interesting shops and stuff like that. So, yeah. Paul said he stayed in HB. It was nice. Yeah, HB is incredibly nice. I will say I used to live in HB, and that's a mixed bag. When I was young and in college, we used to live maybe a block away, like a walk's worth away from Main Street. Me and a bunch of guys were like piled in this really expensive apartment, and we split each bedroom so that we could afford it. So it was like 6 people to like a 2-bedroom apartment. But it was fun. I mean, it was fun, and it was definitely an experience. But it also, like, for somebody like me who kind of grew up in LA County, grow up very well off, like that was a little bit of an adjustment, getting used to all the rich folk, all them rich folk living out there. A lot of rich people in Orange County. It's not all rich people, but I'm just saying there are a lot of rich people in Orange County. Kind of one of the main reasons why, for some reason, a lot of Orange County punk just never connected with my friend and I were just talking about that, where it's like there's a sound to Orange County punk that doesn't vibe with me as well as other punk movements at the time. And I feel like it's because you could tell it was like rich kids. Is that horrible to say? Okay. Let's see here. But yeah, Huntington's great. The food's great. Yeah, it's a beautiful place. Huntington's a really nice place. Paul said, we sat in some town eating ice cream and watching fancy cars. My brother was in heaven. Yeah. That town, that might have been Seal Beach, because Seal Beach is really nice and kind of high end. Yeah, there's an Irish pub up there that serves really yummy stew. I don't know if this place still exists, but I really liked there was this place called Krabby's. This is before SpongeBob SquarePants was a thing, but they'd actually serve like crab patties, and it was like delicious, like amazing. I don't know if they still exist because Main Street. Paul said rich kid punk is the worst. Yes, it's like there's something about it where you're just like, I don't know if I can get into this. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of the rich kid punk was coming out at the same time that like Northern California, you had a lot of really like struggling guys like up in the San Francisco Bay Area, like most of them living in Oakland, just doing like some of the coolest punk at the time. Meanwhile, in Orange County, you've got like, punk rock complaining about your parents making you do your homework. Okay, let's see here. Dylan was saying, can rich kids be punk? I'm sure you can have wealthy punks, like for sure. I mean, but yeah, I don't know. There's something about it that just you can hear it. You can hear it. Is that biased to say? You can kind of hear it. You can hear if it's a rich kid. It's what Gary Hodges would call fancy whites, something like that. Okay, so we have our shirt being chosen very wisely. Pepsi Cola said it's like ripped rocker jeans from Gucci. Yeah, he was saying cosplaying poverty and struggle. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I feel mixed on as a guitar nerd. There's this whole thing in the guitar world lately called a relict guitar, and it's basically like a brand new guitar, usually sold by like custom shops. I think this whole thing started with like the Fender and Gibson custom shop. And what they would do is take like a brand spanking new guitar and then like age it and beat it up. And it would look cool quite often. Sometimes it would even look authentic. And a lot of guitarists love them because they feel like it plays like older guitar, which is a really neat feeling. Like some of the guitars I have that are older, they're just like they're played in. They feel like they just feel different. Like they feel good. But they also have like battle scars from gigs and stuff and from playing. And it's like they sell these guitars that are called like relics. That are basically just like that. Like they come pre-made with battle scars. And I feel like mixed about it because on one hand, they look pretty cool. But on the other, it's like I kind of want those war wounds to come from my own playing, dropping the instrument and sweating and whatever all over the guitar. Like that's kind of half the beauty of a used guitar is like it's got a story to it that was like earned through playing music. So it is kind of a little bit of like the guitar equivalent to like the ripped jeans. It's like I don't know how I feel about that. That's funny because Firefly even sells some relic guitars. Look cool. So it's like it's a mix. It's a mixed feeling. I don't know whether I like it or not. Paul was saying everybody who follows Kemble's stream must be punk in some way. That's right. You guys are all the Kremlin, members of the Kremlin. We're the punkest of the punks. We're actually not punks. We're a gang. Okay, guys. We're a gang, and we carry switchblade combs. Actually, I have wanted to have a switchblade comb for years. That's like a novelty item that I think as a kid I really wanted, and you couldn't. Of course, my parents weren't going to let me carry around a switchblade comb, but I was just like, that's the coolest thing. It's like the Fonz had one of those. And I still to this day kind of think switchblade comb, that is a hardcore move, right? Where you just go and then like comb your hair. Dylan said naturally occurred and not manufactured. Yeah, and that's again, it's a mix because it's like I can also understand the artistry of it, and if they play better than regular guitars, maybe there's a reason for it, Like it. Let me put it this way: I think it's kind of lame, but if somebody bought me like a Fender custom shop that was relict, or bought me like a Les Paul custom shop that was relict, I wouldn't be like, no, I get this. I'd be all about that because they're really nice guitars, from like the Murphy Lab and stuff. Those are incredible guitars. But even in that case, I would still secretly know it's not like, it's kind of lame. Paul said, I'd like to be in cadre. I don't even know what a cadre is. What is a cadre or a cadre? I have to look that up, or somebody look that up and tell me in chat, because I'm working on comics here. I'm working on comics over here. Whoa. That's how we talk too. People who listen to this stream, we all talk like that, where it's like, "Hey, I'm working on comics here." Whoa.
Sound outside of screen. That's how you talk all day.
Yeah, that's actually when I'm not recording. Yeah, when I'm not recording, the real voice of me is that, where I'm like, "Hey guys, it's getting kind of warm in here. What's that over there?" Oh. When I teach classes too, that's what I sound like in front of my students. I'm just like, oh, so we're gonna do some learning over here. Oh, who does a great voice like that? Jim Lujan. Jim Lujan does a really good like Mr. Cotter kind of voice where it's like, whoa, Mr. Cotter. Oh. I had a really good friend in Oregon named Mike Getsev, and he could do like the best John Travolta impression that I have ever heard in my life. What's up? I know, I miss Mike too. He was a good dude.
Benji's out. He's going to stay in his room. I have to walk the dog.
Awesome. Paul was saying, Rodney Dangerfield? Yeah, a little bit. Whoa, what's here with the comics? We're like coloring comics over here. Whoa. Anyhow, I think I should do a whole stream like that and see if like new people come on and are like just thinking that's the way I talk. Where I'm like, all right, what we're gonna do over here? We're gonna go down here, over where the white is on the eyes. Gonna make some adjustments here. Whoa, this eye over here. What's going on with it? Right? I think that could happen. Pepsi Cola said, new persona unlocked. And I like to think when you said that, there was like, you know, in a video game when like a new character and you get extra hearts. That's what happened there.
You get the Galaxy Alien sound instead?
Yes, the Galaxy Alien sound. I like that. Okay, so we have our dress here. A dress over here. Got to make the choice here where the dress is going to be better over here. Whoa. It's like, if I look at this dress, it's going to be having to be colored, you know? Dylan said, I haven't seen the Mean Girls, the musical yet, but Janet doesn't look emo. Her outfits look 2020, trying to be emo. Nice. I don't know anything enough about the Mean Girls, so. Paul said, a group of trained or otherwise qualified personnel capable of arming, training, or leading an expanded organization as a religious or political faction or a skilled workforce. A cadre. A cadre. I think it's a cadre, right? I think we could be called a cadre, but we still, as long as, would we still be allowed to have switchblade combs, like switchblade hair combs? Because if that's the case, I'm still in. If not, I don't know. I want a different gang. Vinny Barbarina. I love it. Ronnie said he's glad to catch the live. I'm glad you caught the live stream as well. Thank you, Ronnie. How are your comics coming along, my dude? Pepsi said, agreed, Dylan. They need scenes of taking photos in bathroom mirrors with a white flash on, using our grainy flip phones, of course. I actually noticed that Sunny Day Real Estate, who are back together, which is kind of cool, post on their social media a clip from South Park where somebody's calling a girl emo, and she's like, I'm emo, okay? And he's like, if you're not emo, why are you listening to Sunny Day Real Estate? And I had a moment of like, yeah, I don't know. There's a part of me that likes a lot of that stuff. But I mean, you know, I'm a guy who, like, my favorite band on earth is Fugazi, you know? And pre-Fugazi, you got Rites of Spring, right? Just Guy from Fugazi just rocking the first emo ever made with coining the term emo. And, you know, from there you have like this whole kind of did I just say this pust punk? That's as opposed to post punk. No, but this post punk movement called emo at the time. And that's how I got to know emo. So like I was weirded out a little bit when that came into fashion, because I was like, oh wow, people are going to get into like this kind of post hardcore thing. And I was like, no, instead it's like, no, people are going to get a dashboard confessional. And you're like, no. Anyhow. But I miss a lot of music from that era because I did like a lot of it. I love Cursive. You know, Bryce is great. I think that whole Saddle Creek scene is pretty amazing. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff from that era that I really feel was incredible. I feel like At the Drive-In was kind of around at the time too. A little bit earlier, but still kind of a little bit in there. So you had a lot of stuff. Pust punk. Okay, not gonna lie, sounds gross. It does. That's a certain kind of Bay Area punk. Pepsi Cola said, I imagine the media recruiting based on the accent and voice tone. As a side note, I forgot to say. I could see that. I do think vocal tone in broadcasting definitely has like a thing. Like for instance, in our circle, in the art master, I would say that you could have Christopher Runciman or Kevin Cross pretty much say anything on stream and sound amazing. Like they both have like these incredible voices, like incredibly deep, like profound sounding voices. Where it's like they have voices that are really good for broadcasting. And I feel like yeah, Runciman and Kevin both have that magic thing of like just a really compelling, deep voice that just sounds really good on the airwaves. Um, you know, both those dudes I could imagine driving late at night, listening to an AM radio and turning it up a little bit and being like, this is interesting. Because they've got like a deep voice. My voice, I think, sounds. I've been told that I sound like Kermit the Frog by a lot of people. That I have a Kermit register to my voice. But I'm definitely more on that like Kermit line of the vocal register, like more in the oh well hello there, how do you do? Like I don't know, Kermit the Frog. Like I could be on that kind of register, but Kermit doesn't have like a newscaster voice. I feel like Kevin and Christopher have like that voice that just sounds, yeah, a newscaster or something, like a very like serious, amazing sounding voice. Mine sounds more like I am a Muppet on the Muppet Show. So I don't know, but I love Kermit, so there's that. I think Kermit the Frog is amazing. Kermit the Frog. And I've, when people have told me that, I have taken it as a compliment because Kermit really is quite the Muppet, is all I'm saying. Okay. So now we're going to get through this last panel, guys. These last two panels. Kermit the Frog. I am excited. Okay, so there was a trailer that Disney Plus put out about a documentary about Jim Henson, and I'm really excited about that. I think that's really cool. And Jim Henson is one of those guys that I just like. I absolutely admire, and I think anyone who pretends that Henson didn't have like an impact on lives is just a lunatic. Paul said his favorite Muppet was always Animal. I think my favorite Muppet is Kermit. Like it always was. I did like Gonzo a lot. I always thought Gonzo was Gonzo. I always felt like really empathetic for. He's always getting his nose stuck in things. I just felt bad for him. Like he was always trying to do shows that kind of failed epically. I don't know. Gonzo was like a Charlie Brown type character, where he'd try really hard and he never got to kick the ball, kind of. But Kermit's just likable, Animal is of course incredible, and I think yeah, I think Fozzie's pretty amazing too. I think Fozzie's one of the ones that always gets forgotten about, like, but the bits where Fozzie is like doing his stand-up routine and getting heckled by the old men, that's like that stuff is classic. I love it. Pepsi Cola said psychologist Jordan Peterson sounds Kermity terribly. I try not to laugh when I see clip of him. Now I kind of now I kind of want to revisit Peterson because I don't really listen to him much. Most of the time I've seen him is with people debating him, but now I'm curious. Now I'll have to like re-listen and imagine it's Kermit. Dylan said, I remember when I was a kid, I had an animal shirt that said "Party Animal," which in fact I was not. I was and am an introvert. You can be an introvert and a party animal for sure. Um, man, there's so many good Muppets, like the Swedish Chef. I feel like the Swedish Chef is one of the best bits too, where he'd just be like, like he's, but they do all that hand acting, where he'd be like preparing stuff, but they do like, yeah, it was, I don't know. I feel like that was incredible too. Crimson said, Ronnie said, Muppets rock. Let's see here. Pepsi said, I was a teen poser occasionally who had shirts of bands I never listened to. I admit the shame. Oh, no, you didn't wear shirts of bands you didn't listen to. Oh, well, we all did dumb things as teenagers. But that's a rough one. There is one thing I will say, though. I do feel like somebody should listen to a band if they're wearing the band's t-shirt, right? But I don't think in order to wear a band's t-shirt, you need to be aware of the entire discography. Like, I feel like that kind of gatekeeping is kind of lame. So, well, I feel like you should be a fan of at least an album or some songs by the band. I also feel like just because you're wearing a band t-shirt doesn't mean you have to be able to answer the encyclopedia of that band. So that's where I draw I think it's reasonable to expect that somebody has heard or is a fan of the band that they're wearing a t-shirt of. However, I also think it's absurd to like gatekeep, fandom where it's like you have to know every band or every album by this band. And also I'm kind of gatekeeping in that way with comics, where it's like somebody can wear a Spider-Man shirt because they like Spider-Man. It doesn't have to be that they know every single issue of Spider-Man or have seen every single movie. But I am stick of, yeah, you probably should at least be somewhat familiar with at least one of the things, Dylan, I think that's a reasonable standard. I'd almost hold to that, where he said, I think you should have listened to at least 2 albums of an artist. Yeah, I agree. What if it's an artist that only has 1 album, though? What if, like, you're a big Op Ivy fan and you're wearing an Op Ivy shirt? It's like, what do you do in that case? There's a curveball for you. What if you, like, really like Jeff Buckley, It's like, do you have to have listened to 2 albums? It'd be pretty tough. No? What if they're a one-hit wonder? Yeah, Paul was saying. Now, there is a shirt that trolls Band Geek that I really want to own at some point. And no one has ever bought it for me. And I would totally rock this. It's a shirt I would never buy. But I'm going to make sure it's on my wish list for my birthday. Let me see if I can find it and share it with you guys. Okay. It's been like everywhere. Here, I love this shirt so much. Let me put this above the lines. I wanna wear this shirt everywhere I go. I absolutely adore this shirt. Isn't that terrible? But it's such a troll. Like, I would actually wear that. It's just so good. There's a couple other ones too. There's one with like Owen Will's face. It says Nirvana. It's so good. Uh, anyhow, so at some point, somebody is going to get me that shirt and I will wear it gladly. And I'll wear it when I'm teaching, you know, just to like troll the people I'm teaching. And if they're like, you know, that's not Nirvana, I'll be like, what are you talking about? This is completely Nirvana. Look, I was alive then. I know what Nirvana looks like. And I could pull rank. That's the beauty of it. I could pull rank and be like, dude, I was a teenager, okay, when Nirvana, I had all their albums, okay? Don't you tell me this isn't a Nirvana shirt. Anyhow, I like that one. I've always liked those kind of trolly t-shirts. They're very funny to me. I might have to let's see if we can find I need to find an angle where I see the roof. The roof. The roof. I love Paul's bop. And then Pepsi responded with, yes, Paul, bop indeed. I love it. There's a really good one that I always liked, kind of a classic troll shirt where it's the Enterprise and then it says Star Wars at the top. I love that too. I would wear that. That's like the type of shirt you really should wear to like a Comic-Con. Is a shirt that's, you know, the Starship Enterprise and have it say Star Wars on it. How's it going, Philip Chandler? Philip's joining us. Getting some Canada representation up here in this house. How are you doing, bud? We're working on finishing this. This, yeah, that's a good one too. Pepsi Cola said Spider-Man is my favorite X-Men. Yeah, that'd be great too. Is if you had a shirt that was a bunch of Marvel characters that said DC Comics. That would be good. I want to own some of these troll shirts, you know. Philip said, good evening there, Josh. Good evening there, Philip. So the goal is to get this page colored. Dylan said, or Spider-Man is my favorite member of the Justice League. Ooh, I like it. The travesty. Okay. But yeah, I really do want that Nirvana shirt. And again, there's one with like Owen Wilson, you know, where it says like Kurt Cobain or something on it. It's pretty hilarious. But I really want the one that's I feel like the Hanson one just it just goes on a whole other level, you know. Let's see here. Okay. I'm gonna do this. And then we're gonna play some trailers. Let's get rid of this too. This guide. My gosh, these guides. I don't want to see the guides. Hide the guides, please. Thank you. Okay, and then we'll do this. The last one. This is the last to go. So we're going to play one more trailer, and then we will finish up this page like amazing human beings that we are. Paul said, I like those. I'm going to tell my kids this is memes. Oh, yeah, you got to tell me those. I don't know if I'm familiar with those memes. You need to educate me on said memes, sir. All right, let's put the trailer on for... we'll do the Jacob's Apartment trailer. I'll be right back. Speak clearly, it seems that only in dreams can we be these things we've seen and walk around. At the seams. Pepsi Cola said, my mom did that to me in real life while she taught me a fake language. I only found out it was fake in the 6th grade. I thought it was bilingual. Dylan said that little stuffed dinosaur so cute. Thank you. Yeah, that's Carnosaur Dinosaur. And if you want to find out more about him, you can pick up Jacob's Apartment. He is really cute. I'm proud of that little generic dinosaur dude. Let's see here. We have Paul saying, I also like those memories when they mix up people. I made a couple, but they didn't go viral. Nice. Yeah, some of my favorites are like the fake quotes. And I can't remember, but there were a couple that were really funny that went around like and would say like Winston Churchill or something, and it's like clearly not a quote by that person. Those are pretty amazing. The only troll I've ever considered was trying to reverse engineer the Satanic Panic for my kid. I've thought of that because there's so many rad, rock and roll bands that I grew up listening to that, like, I was told by my parents and by adults around me would open like a portal to another dimension. Like they were dangerous bands that would, like open up the gateway to hell or something. And I was told that about D&D too. So I remember the first time I played like Dungeons and Dragons at a friend's house, it was like covert. Like I had to keep it a secret because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to like open like the demonic gateways and it's funny because I think part of what drew me to checking out like Slayer and like metal bands was exactly that kind of thing. And maybe potentially what got me into like some pretty decent punk rock too was the idea that this was like, you do not go here, you do not listen to this. And so I have thought about like reverse engineering that for my son, just having like a stack of really cool vinyl and like in the corner and just being like, look, any music you want to listen to, fine, but this music, stay away from this because it will bring the gates of hell open, like, or something. Of course, I'm not going to do it, but that is a level I've considered when it comes to my kid, because I'm like, maybe that'll get him like rock and roll, Maybe that's what my parents were doing the whole time in the 80s, Yeah, yeah. Pepsi Cola said, "I loved hearing about art being a gateway to evil." Some same with comics and video games. Yeah, for sure. I even remember, man, when I was young, a friend of mine who was a pen pal. People will have no idea what that is, but we met through the Max, the comic book, the Max, and the Max had a fan group in the letters section of the Max. That was called Max Heads. That was us nerds that were like really into the Max. And they also had a pen pal section. So people would list like their writing address, and then you would like send them a letter, and then they'd send you a letter back, and you'd meet people who were like fans of the Max. This is like before the interwebs. So I made a really good friend who's still a friend to this day from that. And we used to write each other letters from like 7th grade to like 12th grade. We wrote each other letters. Anyhow, I had a pen pal, but I remember I think when I was in 7th grade, my pen pal who was really into the Max was also a big fan of Akira. And at the time, Akira wasn't like available everywhere. So they sent me a pirated videotape of it in the mail. And I remember I had to like watch it secretly. And I ended up watching it. And then I remember, I think my dad walked out, late at night. I was like watching it with like the volume really low. And my dad walked out in the living room and saw me watching this, like right at like the worst part. I think it was the part in Akira where there's like a police standoff, and then they just start mowing down people and like ends up killing a bunch of dogs. And it's like really bloody and gory. My dad walked out and was like, "Yeah, you can't watch this movie." Like, and he made me tape over it. Like so I had to take Akira and record over it. Like, because back in the day you could record on a videotape. And he made me record over the whole thing because it was inappropriate for my age at the time. And I remember just being so heartbroken and then telling my pen pal about it. Like, my parents suck, blah, blah, blah. but it's such a like fragment of that time, because like I don't imagine that happening to anyone now, because you pretty much, you kind of have access to like everything nowadays. It's almost scary how much access people have nowadays. Okay. Dylan said, about 5 years ago, my mom said something like, "I allowed you to explore different religions, but you were supposed to come back to Christianity." And he said, "Well, that wasn't truly allowing me to be free." Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Yeah. Let's see here. So we have almost got this taken out. I think that, in the world of ideas, I think people should be free to explore ideas. And I also think that people should make good arguments for why other ideas are bad ideas. I think that's the basis that you can kind of build a personality off of, because I feel like nothing sincere comes from like overt censorship. However, I will say I also like moderate, what my kid can see and stuff. He's 10, when he's older and like more kind of prepared for other things, then we'll introduce him to other stuff. But it's like I do think there is a certain amount you kind of have to shield kids from. But at the point where the kids are, in their teens and like starting to explore ideas and stuff, you need to kind of be able to be okay with them exploring ideas, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Let's see here. Paul was saying that guy you're drawing looks extremely macho. He's an interesting guy. You got to look him up. It's Daniel Douglas Home. Daniel Douglas Home. He's a strange figure in history. Let's see here. Dylan said, "Did anyone do the put a letter in a bottle and throw it to sea to get a pen pal? It was a fun in elementary school thing in Florida." Yeah, I grew up near the desert, and then there was a brief period of my childhood in Texas. So and Texas, like near Fort Worth. So like being near an ocean or a lake to do such a thing was kind of unheard of. I do remember putting like a message in a bottle at some point as a kid though, when we visited the beach, but it never quite led to anything. Did you actually get a pen pal from a message in a bottle? Because that's kind of amazing. But I will say one thing that was nice about the pen pal thing was we did write like really long letters. It was really neat. We used to make mixtapes for each other and stuff too. And it was kind of neat to like meet somebody, at the time who didn't live in my area. And so that can be really cool. I think that is one nice thing about the internet is, I don't know if people realize like how rare that used to be, being able to know somebody from another state or another city. Yeah, and also you can see movies for free and pretty much any movie you want. Listen to like endless music and go down interesting rabbit holes. Yeah, the internet's got some really good things to it. Pepsi Cola said, just empty sadness, no mermaid responses. Dylan said, we did whisper to a Saguaro cactus to send messages to our pen pals. Nice. Here we did Joshua trees, Yeah, I remember when U2's Joshua Tree came out, a lot of people were like, "Wow, that's crazy. What's a Joshua tree? That's like it's pretty and distant and like weird dead stuff." And people from this area were like, "Why would you make an album of that? like why would you tell an album after that tree?" Anyhow. Okay, guys. Hey, look, guys, we're almost done. We're almost finished. I will say, getting older though, like I do start appreciating some of the beauty of the desert. Like, it's a really pretty area. And I will tell you, man, desert skies are like the pretty things you will ever see. They're very gorgeous. Sunsets, sunrises in my neck of the woods are unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right, guys, that's it. Finished. We did it. We did it. We did it. We did it. That's going to do it for the live stream. And that's great because it's just enough time to where, I can get some other stuff done tonight, including working out. And whilst working out, maybe checking out Gary's live stream, which I'd encourage you guys to do too. Gary Hodges posted a live stream today. Thanks to everybody who turned out in the chats. If you can, it would be great if everyone who's been in the chats just hits that like button. That helps the channel grow and get new members and helps grow our community and also helps me out. And then also make sure you're subscribed and you hit that bell so you get notifications when we're about to go up. And I will see you guys on the next live stream. I hope you guys all have a wonderful night and get a lot of art done. And yeah, that'll do it. See ya. Bye.